So, we don't, I think it's better now that we don't introduce
the podcast.
It's just, yeah.
Just get into it.
That's what Joe Rogan does. He just goes, yeah. And when he's got the person who's with, what do you call the person who's with?
Jamie.
Not Jamie.
Oh, the guest.
The guest, yeah. They don't know that's what's happening. Well,
touch the mic like him as well then.
Does that do all the time? So anyone who sees me doing that, I'm just copying Joe Rogan.
Do you watch it on YouTube or do you just watch it or listen to it on Spotify? I never watch it on YouTube anymore.
I don't think it is on YouTube.
It's still on YouTube.
You sure?
What's on? It's off first, so like puts out the clips and everything.
Because when it went on to, can we tag Joe Rogan onto this? Definitely, he could watch it and get us a few more listeners.
Yeah, sure.
Could you do that? But he just wouldn't like. We just wouldn't.
I just don't think.
Well, why though?
I think you know, like these celebrities have got like big, massive followings and stuff. Like, did they ever look at the stuff? You think how many times they're getting tagged into things and things like that? Do you know what I mean?
They must be getting. Do you know, like people? No.
Joe, give him a like and follow. Like and subscribe, please.
But his podcast though, they're just listen. He's wide awake. He's smart, isn't he? But they're just dead simple, aren't they?
Yeah. He questions. He's good at questioning, isn't he? Like he doesn't actually like say a lot. He just gets the other people to speak and stuff.
But
he's like,
wealthy.
But he knows just as much as what the guests know. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll speak to a fighter, and tomorrow he'll speak to like a neurosurgeon or something like that, and he'll know just as much.
Yeah. It's good. My missus kicks off all the time when I listen to him. But if I say something like, say a fact or something, she'd be like, "Oh, you just let off Joe Rogan, did you?"
But so it is on YouTube because when he went to Spotify, when he signed that contract, I'm sure I was trying to get on YouTube and it wasn't on.
It's still on.
Is it?
Yeah, it goes on, but it's not like straight away.
Definitely enjoy our H1 review.
That's testing. We'll tag him in. Let's see if you guys are enough.
How we found it, mate? First half of the year.
Yeah, it's been really busy again, hasn't it? Hasn't slowed down. We've done our best 2 quarters.
Yep.
Record quarter in Q1, second best quarter in Q2. Yeah, it's been really, really busy. Like I said, no signs of slowing down at all. There's been a few things which have happened where we thought, could have potentially like cool things down, but it hasn't, has it really?
Do you think I think it's a mixture as well. Obviously, we'll talk about our H1 and we'll talk about the wider market, but I think the level as well of broker that we've got now is significantly better than it's ever been.
I was speaking to someone the other day because they came in to say, still thinking about making the move, and they said one of the things that really reassured them about Allsop and Allsop was the amount of people that have been here for a long time. Like, you think, mate, some of our top earners, well, majority of them, they've all been here like 10 plus years, haven't they? We've just like done the graduation ceremony there for the new starters, and you were saying like in time, it gets not easier, but because you've been doing it as long as you have, like it does, you do get knack of it, and it does on the surface feel easier and you enjoy it more. And it's true, like these people have been here a long time.
Yeah.
The money that they're earning now is just scary, isn't it?
And the thing is, as well, it's not just I think in every company you'll have your usual suspects who do mad numbers every month, but it's the people now who are coming to our business and are doing numbers in that short amount of time when they've been here.
Yeah. We've had some really, really impressive people though, like from like different industries come here where, you know, we've got a lot of people in finance, like Victor was on last week, wasn't he? He's come from like commodities and things like that. I think we've had some like a really good caliber of person join us as well within the last like 2, 3, 4 years.
It is, and that's massive respect to massive shout out to our recruitment team. The level of candidate that they're bringing to the table now. And it does, we get asked that question all the time, don't we, about what does it take to be a good real estate agent? You don't have to be an estate agent back in the UK or have done it anywhere else. It's just, there's certain basics that you have to be good at. But again, going back to what I was saying, then obviously the market is again, we're quite boring at times because it's quite repetitive. And what I said to you before we came on here, let's try and be a little bit different in terms of review.
Things,
because you'll get people putting up reviews left, right and centre, and they'll be very similar. We've done this. It's been a brilliant H1. It's been a great quarter. It's been this, that and the other. But I think everyone is feeling the same, or getting the same perception of the market as the way we are.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah.
Couple of things that I want to touch on before. I think like I said before, I don't want to go on too much about numbers, but I think we have to. Let's dive in for the numbers from the wider market and from Allsop and Allsop as well. So the total transaction value in H1 was 260 billion dirhams, which was a 35% increase versus 2024.
Yeah.
There was a 46% increase in secondary market sales compared to H1 2024, which, again, that's our bread and butter. And I know there's a lot of media spin and there's a lot of hype around the off-plan market, but the secondary market, Dan, it's on fire at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what we've tend to focus on as a business, isn't it? I mean, we've got a fantastic off-plan team now, but it's just funny because we always say like the numbers that we do, but we're operating in like 40% of the marketplace normally any given year, aren't we? But yeah, the secondary market, you'll hear this term all the time as well, like, oh, the market's maturing, and people often ask like what that means. That's people like moving within the market, isn't it? Like, we're talking about like people trying to get on the ladder and trying to buy a property here. It was one of our friends, I won't name them or anything, but they asked us 6 months ago about whether or not they should buy the property they were living in.
Yep.
And we encouraged them to do it. They have. They've renovated, done a lovely job, put it back on the market now. They're going to be able to pull enough equity out of that property to then buy a villa, which is what they wanted, but they didn't quite have the down payment initially. So a mature market is people like moving within the market, but also as well staying here for an extended period.
It is, and we've said it a few times, you know, especially when I first came over, people were seeing how the land would lie.
Yeah.
And I'd probably say a typical time. I seen someone on another podcast the other day say a typical time for someone to come into country and buy was 4.5 years.
Previously, now it'll be shorter, won't it?
No, he said now.
Really?
I thought that's definitely not right. Previously, it would have been between 4 and 6 years, but now people are coming over.
I agree. Well, I mean, look, if they've got stats to back it up, but just like based on the ground in terms of what we can see, it seems that people are wanting to buy as quickly as possible now because there's the incentives attached to it, isn't it? Like the golden visa scheme and what have you. People can see where prices have been and where they're going, and they want a bit of it. It's even like little things like, well, we've got two people here who probably haven't done renovations properly on their houses, but if you look now, mate, like your street, how many houses are getting renovated and done up, and my street, like there's 10, 12 properties where people are renovating them. We obviously try to do ours like not on the cheap, but we try to be sensible with it. But
definitely on the cheap.
Some of the renovations and things that people are doing at houses now, because they're not staying here for a couple of years anymore. Like you said, it's long term.
I went to the gym this morning. We train in one of our friends' his garage, and in his road, I counted, and I was not going to the top of the road.
Yeah.
There was 6, and they're not 2 bedrooms. 6 properties getting renovated.
Well, there's one across the street from me, which was a record sale in Victory Heights at the time for a B1 villa, and it was renovated. Yeah. They're gutting it again. They're completely, whoever's bought it's renovating it again. So they've paid top price because they wanted the location of that particular property, because it's a fantastic location as well.
What I've noticed as well, mate, the likes of Talal, where people have bought, I'd say they've bought a Harmony, which is like a 4 or 5 bedroom villa, and they're completely gutting it. No one's lived in the property before. You're just completely gutting it.
But that's something that's changed, because I thought this when we went to JG for one of our open houses recently.
Yeah.
Remember the wildflowers, which were the damp ones, and we kind of went in there like standard of this, the standard of that.
Yeah.
If you had just looked at that as a shell and core property and thought, no, this is X amount of BUA on a plot on the earth course, I'm going to treat it like that. I'll spend X amount on it, making it a top quality villa. These are the people that have made a load of money.
I think people are reverting back to the older units as well, because 100%. You're getting a bit of a plot, you're getting you can knock them out a little bit, whereas the newer stuff, which we'll talk about later on, it's getting a little bit pokey.
Yeah.
The gardens are a little bit small. I wanted to talk, going back to, I don't want to go off a tangent here, I want to talk about the where people are buying, first-time buyers, and they've shortened that time, they've diluted that time, because I think they're frightened now of the market completely getting away from them.
100%, yeah.
And if they're not getting on the market now, like you said before, that person who we were speaking about, they enter the thing around about the 2 million dirham mark, the 2.5 million dirham mark, and now they're looking at let's say a 5 million dirham property. Yeah. They wouldn't be able to bought the 5 million dirham property if they wouldn't have bought that one for 2 million dirham.
What do you think? If the market's going up by like 20% of what it has been, try and save 20% of 5 million dirhams. That's 1 million dirhams in a year, and you try and find just by keeping up with the market. That's not by moving within the market and getting the next bigger property or anything. That's just to try and get what you want. So yeah, look, I can't see it slowing down anytime soon, and I just think there's a lot of good sentiment towards the market as well. I think people believe in it, they're confident in it, which is why the money's continuing to come here.
I've just said I've come back off my holidays just recently, and where I went was don't get me wrong, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Went back to the UK, and then we went to somewhere else, and I think you realise, because we're in a bubble here, I think you realise the impact of what we have here when you do go to other countries or other cities, and these cities are. I went to New York, and don't get me wrong, it was amazing, and I went to London as well. But the ease of everything that we have at our fingertips, I know it sounds silly, but the likes of Deliveroo or Uber or things like that, where you take for granted here.
It's always the hotels for me, you know. Do you know, if you like compare hotels here, what you pay a night, to anywhere else you go, it's like, it's on a different level.
Just the service, the service, and like I say, the sentiment here that this is why people want to be here.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed as well, year on year, is I think a lot more people, we'll talk about the summer, you know, the people leaving for the summer. There's still people that obviously leave for the summer. I think a lot more people are staying here. I think a lot more people are staying here because, yes, it's hot. I understand that. But they don't want to sacrifice the level of service, the level of quality going on in the summer holidays.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, the place will empty out. But I've got friends who are not going away. They're staying here. And so obviously you're getting some brilliant deals in the hotels. Probably like, in some cases, it's a complete fraction of what you'd usually pay.
Yeah.
And it is down to the service. That's what it is. The sentiment, like you said before, it's the sentiment of the place.
Do you think it's better value for money here now than what you can get in some of like other places?
Property wise?
No, just like, well, just in general, like we'll talk about properties, but you know, you're talking about like the cities that you've been to and stuff.
Without a doubt.
Compared to where you've just been, like.
Listen, I was on holiday, so you know, you're a bit more, I'd say, free spending when you're on holiday. But I thought where I went was not comparable. It was more for like drinks or going to restaurants, and everyone wants tips off you left, right, and centre. They're like that with a handout all the time. But it is, whereas Dubai was always seen as expensive. Yes, it's expensive, of course it is. But in terms of compared to the cities that we went to, I think it's a lot cheaper than what it was.
I agree. Like when I've been going away now, like probably the last 2-3 years, I don't really feel like prices have gone up much here. You know, I think probably like 7-8 years ago, you was like, oh God, pricey, but I don't think it's that bad now. Like,
because you earn twice as much money.
I'm not.
That's what it is. That's what it is, because you earn twice as much.
Brokers are.
we always put in about who's moving to Dubai.
Yeah.
And our top 10 buyers. Listen, the Brits, they're always number one.
Yeah.
We've got Italian, French, German. Why do you think that we put that out? I know it's an obvious question, but why do you think we put that out?
I think it was just more Europeans, wasn't it? That's what we've noticed so far this year. Look, we're not politicians or anything like that. We've obviously moved away from the UK for probably the same reasons what have you. I just think people are getting a bit fed up, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like that's what it seems like. On a YouTube and what have you, you'll see certain things getting fed through about like tax to the rich and wealth taxes, that sort of thing. I just think that there's not really a lot of incentive to try and like prosper in Europe at the minute, and it's almost like a penalising you. Whereas Dubai, it doesn't matter what, or the UAE in general, they always try and like seize initiative when it comes to things like that. When there's any sort of, you know, undertones elsewhere, they'll always try and jump on it. And like they did it after 2020, didn't they? That was the big boom here.
Well, we spoke about it last week. I think we were on here, or was it with Darren on the other podcast, about things that have happened over the last 10 years. And there was like 5 or 6 different bits of conflict or issues with COVID and everything else. And like this place seems to thrive when there is unrest around the world, you know what I mean? And it's people are seeing that. And like going back to what I was saying when I went back on holiday, when you switch on the news back in the UK, it is nothing but dire news.
Just doom and gloom into this.
What am I watching here? Whereas here, there's no news of any sort of, you know, obviously you've got different
ways to buy one when you get home.
But it isn't. But it's forward thinking all the time. Yeah. What's happening? We'll talk about again the initiatives that the governments are bringing in all the time. It's always forward thinking, and it's that famous thing when Sheikh Mohammed, when he stood, he said, "I want this city to be number one in the world."
Oh, yeah.
And he's there. I think he's there already. 100%. I think he's there. The way this city is going and the way this city is operating, and that's the most important thing I think here, Dan. And because we've had such an unbelievable year, it is down to the way the city is run.
Yeah, 100%.
They see something. Let's say the roads. listen, the roads are obviously they're a little bit quiet now, but they see something and they act on it straight away. The amount of infrastructure they're putting in place, the amount of roads they're putting in place.
Look at DXB. Do you think we need a new airport? We don't. It's world class in itself, but that's getting left behind. They're moving down to DWC, new home of Emirates. It's like, what's the matter with DXB? They constantly want to keep pushing, moving the needle, don't they?
It's a different bridge, or there's a different whatever. And it's. I said it for me now to JBR. It takes 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
No, it's madness. But, yeah. Yeah. Has it been like that all the time?
No.
Okay. Let's take a look at the initiatives that have recently been brought in.
Yeah.
The first one was an interesting one whereby they want first-time buyers to get on a ladder.
Yeah.
Up to a 5 million dirham bracket. And all the major players in terms of all of the developers, Emar, Nikhil, Ellington, to name a few, I think Miras as well were in there.
Yeah.
They all signed up for it, and it was to get people on the ladder. Now, we don't know the ins and outs of what it was, but I think we're surmising it's going to be something around maybe payment plans, maybe a relief.
So like early access, haven't they?
Yeah.
Like preferential mortgage rate potentially. Like
Yeah.
it's quite loose at the minute,
Yeah.
but it's good that the government are thinking about that and trying to encourage people to get on the ladder.
Do you think it'll have an impact?
Yeah, I think so, because as I said, there's that appetite to buy here. I think the big one for me, it is like affordable properties. That's what needs to be launched. I remember Town Square when they launched townhouses there like years ago. They were 900k for 3 beds. They sold out instantly. Arabella launched in Moodon. It was like 1.1, but again, it was something similar where they were like lower entry point, and that encouraged people to get on the ladder. Those same properties now, like Town Square, are you getting change out of 3.5 million dirhams for a townhouse? Probably not. So the people who've lived in those houses have obviously benefited from the rise in the market, but they got on the ladder initially. And we've been out, haven't we, looking at some of the newer communities, like of the Valley, which we're seeing a lot of traction in at the minute, Emar South as well. These communities are all, they're a little bit further out based on where like Dubai is now, but rewind the clock like 8 years, Town Square was in the middle of nowhere. As the infrastructure develops and as Dubai keeps growing, these communities are going to be in, because they are in decent locations. We drove from our office in Motor
20 minutes
to the Valley in 20 minutes.
Oh, I'm sure they will follow through with it. And it'll be interesting because it's ready property, so it's going to be the likes of Emar or the likes of Nikhil.
Well, they've still got some stock. And
what stock have they got?
Yeah.
Sure they have. But what that's going to be, and whether it be, like you say, whether it be a relief from the 4% or whether it be preferable rates with the because the banks have signed up as well.
Well, that's the thing as well. Like, it was one of the questions at the end of, it was in the Q1 review, was about the fact that you couldn't borrow your land apartment fee, you couldn't borrow your brokerage fees. Like Paul asked me, like, do you think that's going to have an impact and slow things down? It hasn't really, has it? But there are sorts of things where if you're a first-time buyer, it's obviously the down payment and the amount of cash that you need in the first instance. That's the thing holding people back. If they can assist with that, I think it's massive, and there'll be so many more buyers coming at the market to try and buy something.
There was another thing as well that got brought in. Jess Stevenson, the head of our conveyancing team, we spoke about just procedures of what you need to do when you buy a property, the after sales process.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have releasing of documents, you have applying for liability letters, which is obviously the balance of what you've got on your loan. And now the governments have come out and they want to dilute that time, which is going to be, especially with people traveling and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's very manual at the moment.
That's the thing, it's in person, isn't it? Especially when you're selling something, you've physically got to go in and request a liability. Like you've physically got to be here in person. So yeah, if they can even streamline that process, because again, we're talking about compared to other markets and what have you. A friend of ours just purchased a property in the UK. He's gone for obviously hell of a time, as in terms of like the paperwork, documents. I'm trying to sell something in England at the minute. The amount of paperwork I'm filling out, it's just a nightmare. So I already think it's really easy to buy and sell property here.
I agree.
But if they make it easier again, well, you know.
But it's typical of the places. And I think what they're doing more now, Dan, and when I'm saying them, I mean the DLD and RERA. And there's been a shift, hasn't he, in at the top. They're trying to make it as easy as possible. Like you said, it is easy at the moment, but easier as possible because of the time frames. And what we're seeing, we done a stat last year, and what it took from signing a contract to completion, which is when you transfer the property into the new owner's name. And the year before was 72 days. We've brought that forward to 60, I think it was 63 days.
Yeah.
I think it's coming down even further in 2025.
And initiatives like this will bring it down even more, wouldn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Touching on more of the data, there was 72,000 units that launched, or have launched this year so far. There was 145,000 in total last year.
Yeah.
So we're on track to probably launch the exact same amount.
As I was saying, yeah.
There's only been, there was 17,166 completed in 2024 H1, and there's been 16,744 completed, which people getting the keys and getting handover. What does that tell you about the supply and demand debate at the moment?
Well, linked to that as well, we've had in Q1 alone this year 90,000 residents arrive here, haven't we? So it's 1,000 people arriving here per day on average. There's not enough units. Talk about the amount of launches, the amount of properties. It was a launch every 14 hours, wasn't it? Or something?
I think it was 18 year before, and now it was like 16 or something like that.
But these units need to be handed over. And as well, I honestly think that the building, not in terms of like the volume of units, but the units which people want, I think it's going to be a real shortage of townhouses and villas in the market soon.
Absolutely.
16% of those 145,000 units were actually townhouses and villas. And if you look at the villa prices, they're the ones which are rising the most on in terms of the prices year on year, what have you. 50% increase in terms of number of transactions as per the DLD year to date. And we've seen a 79% increase in terms of like our own data. So that just backs up that there's a shortage of villas in the market.
Do you think being controversial, there's going to be an issue with the amount of apartments coming into market?
I think it always depends. Like we talk about this a lot within the office, don't we? Like I think it depends in terms of what you buy. The thing that I think about, but just real estate in general, like there's a big difference between investing in real estate and speculating. And the things that I hate seeing is where people are buying these units off plan, like the apartments, and it's like, buy this for $1 million dirhams.
Just a flip.
And you'll flip it after like 3 months for X, or you'll gain capital appreciation. These people are just talking rubbish. And you see a lot of people doing it in terms of like, with like the Wynn Casino stuff. That is literally outright speculation in my opinion. But in terms of like decent quality products, it doesn't matter if it's a villa or an apartment. Like if you buy a unique product where there's going to be a demand for it, you always talk about views, don't you? That's been put it in the simplest form, but you've got to make sure at minimum you've got a nice outlook or it's a unique location or what have you. I think you buy something like that, if you hold on to it for the long term, you can't expect to buy something and sell it in 6 months' time for profit.
It's true, it's definitely true. And you look at, I mentioned there, 145,000 units launched last year. You're going to probably, let's say in the next 3 or 4, people are saying in the next 3 or 4 years, them units are going to come into the market. They're not. Let's say 50% of them do. But then the 50%, let's say we look at 70,000 units that come into market straight away, there's still not enough.
No, exactly. With 1,000 people arriving as current run rate per day.
And plus the fact there's going to be, without mentioning developments, there's going to be stuff there that's not very good, so people aren't going to touch anyway. No?
I honestly think maybe what there's an appetite for and what we need to fill. I think if a developer would launch, they're not going to be huge. Look, we'll talk about like price per square foot. The Springs at the minute, 2,500 dirhams a square foot. You say for a 3M.
Yeah.
They're about 2,500 square feet. You can get in the valley 1,300 dirhams a square foot, but then 1,900 square feet, 3 beds, they're not bad. So when it's 3 beds for like that are 1,600 square feet, that's when they get a little bit tight and a bit pokey. But if a developer was to launch something in around the 2.5 million dirham mark, 3-bedroom villas, 2,000 square feet, there'll be so many people that would jump at that sort of opportunity.
That was interesting, going off on a bit of a tangent. That was interesting last week in the Valley, wasn't it? And we've been
My house was turf, like it was brilliant community.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
And what I like is the level of amenity and the level of...
Well, the Central Park's amazing, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
So yeah, we obviously went to the Valley, checking out, like, see what was getting handed over. There's 400 units handed over, 800 in the process now. 2.7 entry at the minute. Off plan, I think they were going for about the 1.4 mark. But if you look at it at a like for like, the Springs at the minute is 5.5 million dirhams to get a 3M. You can get a 3-bedroom townhouse there for like 2.7 in an EMAR community. Do we really think that the Springs is going to get to like 3,500-4,000 dirhams a square foot in terms of prices? Might do, but would it be more likely that the Valley's going to start trading at 1,500-1,600 dirhams a square foot? I think that on paper is probably the better investment.
Do you think the argument with buyers though, Dan, And I was discussing this with someone before about the springs, and they said, well, it's a little bit tired, it's a little bit tatty. I said, but people, you can knock them about.
Yeah.
The space, you've got a nice garden. Where do you think the balance lies? Do you think people want the squeaky clean, where they just want to walk through, or they want to buy something, renovate, and then have a bigger plot?
I think we always talk about location, don't we? But Emirates Living was always banned as like the best location. But for me, because of where I work, it's never ever had any weight in terms of the location. For me, as soon as I start driving towards the marina or anywhere around there, I think, God, it's full of traffic here, isn't it? You know what I mean? I don't necessarily think for me it's the best location, but other people do. It depends on what you're doing and where you need to be and where you're wanting to, where your kids are going to school, where your office is, if you can bother to sit in traffic. But you do get more value for money typically in terms of like bigger plot sizes. You're never going to get a townhouse now on a 6.5, 7,000 dirham plot like what you can get in the Springs for some of the corners. It's just not going to happen. Same with the independent villas as well. You're not going to get independent villas in these new launches where they've probably got plot sizes the size of, your Meadows and your Arabian Ranches and some of the older villa communities. So if people are wanting value for money in terms of like the size and what have you, these locations do still demand a premium for that.
Let's look at not the top end of the market, we'll look at the luxury level side of things in a minute, but let's look at the 10 million dirhams plus.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the stat that I've got here, and I want you to talk about the stat that you've got, which is really interesting from 2020. So it increased by, the 10 million dirham brackets increased by 114% in H1 compared to 2024. And the 3 million dirham to 5 million dirham brackets increased by 51%. Now, you've got an interesting stat for the 10 million plus brackets, haven't you?
So it's one of the things that we talk about a lot in the office is like the amount of transactions which are happening above 10 million. Like, when I first got you, 2014, very rarely did we see transactions going for that sort of level. So in the last 5 years alone, there's been a tenfold increase roughly in terms of the amount of transactions happening 10 million dirhams or above. So 2020, there was 261 secondary transactions, 615 total. That would have been including the off-plan. In 2024, there was 2,641 transactions at 10 million dirhams plus. In the secondary market, 4,923 transactions in total. And then so far this year, we've already seen 1,500 transactions in the secondary market, 10 million dirhams plus, 3,567. So it's going to increase again. What that means is there's a lot of clients in the market where they purchase properties, which at the time, like 4 or 5 million dirhams was still a very, very good budget to have. But because of what's happened over the last 5 years, these people are sitting on a serious amount of equity now. So we're seeing a lot of these people release equity to purchase secondary properties and what have you, selling these properties then buy.
There's a lot of that at the minute, isn't there?
Loads of people are refinancing.
Yeah.
I think the banks have been a lot more accommodating with it as well in terms of the equity release. But a lot of people are releasing equity to try and reinvest and go again, or again, just move within the market. And we've had, on the other side as well, like we've had friends of ours where they've sold their properties where they bought them in 2020 and they're downsizing because they want to be mortgage free. And that's what the market over the last 5 years has allowed them to do, which I think is a really good thing.
Do you see it being aggressive in the next 4 or 5 years?
You never know, do you? Like when I bought my property in 2021, I didn't think it would be at the value it is now. When you purchase your place, you wouldn't have thought that it's at the value it is now.
Look at what you paid for yours, Dan. And at the time, and I know when you buy the property, it's worth what it's worth at that time. When you bought that, it was like, this is a bit of a, not punt, because it's in an unbelievable area.
I mean, the way I looked at it when I bought it, so the first property I bought here, paid 1.9 for it. We're talking in terms of like people getting on the ladder. That was an off-plan property, 30-70 payment plan. We had to put 30% down during construction, 70% the handover, which I could mortgage. It was 1.9. It was a good entry point in the market.
Yeah.
I sold that property for 2.5, and that gave me the down payment I needed for the purchase at the higher amount, which was 5 million. And like you said, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't expensive. I mean, I was comfortable knowing that, because the person I bought it off, they paid 3.6 for mine 11 months before I bought it. They bought it right in the peak of 2020.
Someone said the other day, just both in there, someone's asked a client or asked one of our brokers, what did the seller pay for it?
No.
What's the relevance of that?
You always get asked that question, don't you? I mean, I looked at it and I was comfortable because I was paying probably the average that particular property type had been selling for in my time in Dubai. I'd seen them slightly higher than that. I'd seen them slightly lower. I was paying bang in the middle, so I was comfortable with that. And look, what's happened over the last like 3 and a bit years that I've owned the thing, I didn't think for 1 second it would get the price it's at now. But on the flip side, I can see why it's got there at the same time because of what's happened.
And I disagree. I not that I knew, because if I knew, then I'd have bought 30 properties or 40 properties. But I just...
But then and I'm saying now, like, I didn't think it would get as high as it is. But when I look back, I can see why it is now. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to, like,
it's just
be fair with it.
When you're looking at it and you're doing comparable, or you're comparing other cities, like we always say, it was like, in some cases, it was nowhere near the average price. I think the average price last year was like 1,500 dirhams per square foot.
Yeah.
And obviously you're taking into consideration the lower end of the market and the higher end. But 1,500 dirhams, obviously £300 per square foot, it's nothing. And even now, we said before about 2,500 dirhams per square foot in the Springs, which is £500 per square foot. It's still very, very reasonable in my opinion.
I was speaking to Josh yesterday, one of the letters directors, and he was saying, do you think in time you're going to start seeing like little like microclimates in terms of like pricing? And I said to him, I was like, you're already getting it now.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at especially what's happened over the last however many years, there was, the example I gave him was, at the time I purchased my property, Darren from the JG office would push me to buy one in Lime Tree Valley, which I couldn't afford even if I wanted to. But the difference in the prices was 1 million dirhams between the two, which I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
It was 1 million dirhams difference between the two. Fast forward to now, the difference in pricing now,
That'll be 7, 8 million dirhams, isn't it?
it's 10 million dirhams between the two. So I sent that to him. I was like, look, at the same time, it was slightly more, but 3-4 years on, there's such a big gap. And same with Jumeirah Islands, we've seen what's happening there. Like
that's been a vast...
It's the second highest price per square foot for the Power Jumeirah, isn't it?
When you look at what you said before about your property, your C1, it was 3.8 million dirhams. How do you remember we sold Jumeirah Islands, 3.4 million dirhams.
Yeah.
Now, we've done it through another agency because they had the unit. Well, 3.4 million dirhams.
Yeah.
Which is, it's incredible.
15 now?
Oh, no.
For a one which is like not done,
I think a standard now is 18 million.
Is that what it is now?
I think standard, yeah.
So there's me clinging on to the old prices. There's me thinking maybe you're going to see before you're back in some...
You're miles away. You're miles away. Let's look at the luxury market.
Yeah.
Typically, the luxury market is plus $10 million, which is 36.7, give or take. I think this time last year, there was 200 on the nose. Well, H1, there was 200 on the nose above $10 million.
Yeah.
Today, there's 254 units that have sold over $10 million. I think the average price is now from 61 to 64 million dirhams. Is that right?
So it's 44 million, wasn't it? For in-house data anyway.
Yeah. For DLD, it was 64 million.
Yeah.
Over the 10 million. The 10 million. I know there's a lot of hype again with over the 10 million, but we were saying, weren't we, about, we were nowhere near these, let's say 5-6 years ago, we were nowhere near these sort of deals. Now it seems to be, there's one happening every single week.
Well, I think as well, there was just less of them in general because I don't think the product back then necessarily warranted that sort of price tag, but you look at the quality of villas that we're selling, the renovations on them, the standard finish is absolutely top class. But then you look at some of the launches as well in terms of like the new stuff off plan, which is coming through obviously within that data as well. You know, we're talking like top class developments, like 6 Senses in the marina. You know, it's got world class facilities. Just had the Jumeirah launch there as well at Emirates Towers. What the actual product that people are buying now is worth this amount of money. Previously, it wasn't necessarily. We spoke about the standard finishes and some of the villas at Hanover. But now these properties are serious properties, like, you know, concierge services and what have you. People are buying the lifestyle, aren't they? They're buying that.
They're like wellness centres, aren't they?
Yeah.
They go and they've got spas, and I think what people are doing as well, Dan, is people are compromising now a number of bedrooms, where you don't usually find a 7 or 8 or 9 bedroom villa. You get a 5 or a 6 luxury bedroom, luxury villa, but it has all the bells and whistles. It'll have your spa, it'll have your gym at the end of the garden or whatever it might be. You look at the one that we've just done, well, a few months ago in Barari.
Best, I was sending videos. I sent videos all my family if it was in there. I was like, this is the best house I've ever been in.
Yeah.
Like you said, what was it? It was only 4 or 5 bed, wasn't it?
I think it was a 5 bedroom.
Yeah. Downstairs, the rooms weren't like ridiculous in terms of proportions or anything, but it was just top class, wasn't it? And you looked at the grounds that it had, the river running past it, the pool, the wellness centre down the bottom. You just looked at you in your own little oasis, weren't you? You could have literally been anywhere.
You eat like a hotel.
Yeah.
And I think what people are doing as well, our private office and some of our senior brokers, I find now more so than ever that our brokers, our clients are listening more to our brokers about what to do.
Yeah.
Whether it be, again, the likes of a wellness centre or a wellness area, or whether it be reducing the number of bedrooms to make the bedrooms bigger, whatever it might be, or the spec of the property. I'm finding we're advising these guys who are building these 70, 80 million dirham properties.
I think as well, because of what's happened, when people can see the data, there's just more confidence that that's actually doable. People can see the prices that are constantly getting broken in terms of like the price square foot records, what have you. But because people can see it and people have done it previously, they wouldn't think twice about buying something which is standard and then spending. And we talk about the renovations that people have spent like 10, 12 million for some of these finishes for renovating the villas. But they know on the resale they're going to get top price for it as well.
But buyers want that, Dan.
Exactly.
Buyers want to pay that premium. No,
they want it fully furnished, turnkey, no messing around.
Because there's so many variables in it. When you buy a property, what you're renovating, you know yourself, you've done it before.
It's awful.
It's the worst thing in the world. And let's say typically for a luxury villa, it'll probably take between 12 and 18 months.
Yeah.
People don't want that.
No.
They'd rather pay maybe 15, 20% premium compared to the house, let's say, next door, and move in and have a turnkey property, but it's all done.
Yeah.
Because they don't want that headache. How have you found, from a personal point of view, how have you found the office, the culture about the business? How has you found that in H1?
We've done a lot of a lot of team building things and everything, what have you. I think it's been fantastic. Look, we've just done the H1 reviews and what have you with teams. I'll not say the number or anything unless you want to disclose it, because it's a good number, but it was just the amount of people who've actually joined the business within the last 6 months. But I'm just joined us actually achieve their first deals, whether it be a sales or lettings. The amount of personal best.
What do we have? How many? It
was 167 people have joined the business so far this year. Have actually got the first deal on the board across both teams. The amount of personal bests you can see as well in terms of the people the amount that people are getting paid and what have you. It's fantastic because you all take a punt to come over here and you want it to work out for everybody. And it's a lot of instances it doesn't. It's down to the person. I always say that you get over what you put in, but when people do come over here and they don't believe the figures at first, do they? The recruiters trying to get them on a plane. But when they're here, then they start seeing the numbers, they start believing it a little bit. But then one step further, when they actually get involved in a sale or they get involved at least themselves, they start earning that, life-changing money. It's the best thing of the job.
I've got our numbers here from our from the whole company. And our top 10, 5 of these people have never been in the top 10. And the majority have been with us for probably less than 4 years. Again, you've got like any company, you've got your mainstays who will always be there. But it is this new crowd who are coming in, this new generation of this influx of broker, these hungry new influx of brokers who have just hit the ground running as soon as they come in.
Yeah, no, it's the best part of it. So we're not out, making sales or anything now, but when you see new people come on board and get the first deals done, for me, that's probably the closest feeling that you get to terms of doing a deal yourself is seeing somebody else do their first sale.
First impressions of H2, because I don't think I've been in, again, the years I've been in this business, we've had a start to H2 like what we have like this one. And going back to what I said before about a lot more people are staying in country in the summer because of what you're getting in terms of hotels and everything else. But when people do leave, anyone who wants to view in this sort of heat, they're interested in that.
We've always said that if people are here and they're actually on the ground doing viewings, what have you, there's a degree of motivation. Carl said something the other week, didn't he? Seasonality's mentality.
It is.
It 100% is. If you tell yourself that it's going to be quiet in the summer, you're already winding down. Let's say you want to get off, beginning of July, you're winding down potentially middle of June, if you're lucky. Most people switch off at the beginning of June. So if that's what you've done, then how can you expect it to be busy? But then these people come back after 4 or 5 weeks away and they'll start complaining in September about how they're quiet. Well, you've not been here doing anything.
I agree.
If you're not, even if at the very minimum, keeping in touch with your owners and updating them, what have you, bringing new listings to the market, that's what you need to be doing. I've always, when I was a broker myself, always did well in July and August. And whether it be that there are less sales that are happening and you're just the one that's doing them, it doesn't matter. Like,
that doesn't look like that at the minute, though.
No,
the numbers that we're doing.
The volume at the minute.
And we can only see internally what we're doing. I'm sure a lot of other companies are doing well out there as well.
And you know what, Mark? It sounds bad, this. I'm not bothered if they're not. Like, I'm just bothered with us.
Yeah. Because you know there's deals in the market. And when,
I hope they have switched off
whatever
for the holidays.
No, I know, listen, I hope when there's deals happening everywhere, you know that there's appetite in the market. But like you say, I can't remember a time like this, these first 3 weeks. I think
that was second best week of the year.
Was the back end of last month, one at the start of this one.
So it crossed over, but yeah, it was I think it was the 30th of June, was the Monday, and then the rest of the week. But that was our second best best week as a business since opening, and it's the beginning of the summer, so yeah.
Listen, no, we haven't got a crystal ball, and we ask these questions all the stupid questions here. I'm going to ask it anyway. How do you see the second half of the year panning out?
I've said it last year, and I think it's the same again this year. Like, I think you're going to see prices rising still. They're not going to be stupid. I think like single digit, low double digit growth.
Again, dependent on where though, I think that.
Like you can't, we've said it already here, but you can't buy something off plan and expect to flip it in 6 months saying for profit. It ain't going to happen. But if you buy sensibly, if you buy the right product, and that's where the broker does come in. A lot of people say like, you just open a door, like we do. Like we've got area specialists here who live and breathe their areas, got the finger on the pulse, and know exactly what prices things are selling for, what have you. You could buy something which is a good price now or a good property, hold on to it. I just can't see how in the next 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, you're going to lose out because there's that many people moving here and there's that good a feeling within the market. People are going to continue to buy.
Well, Lewis put out that thing, didn't he, when that report came out about the market potentially softening. And you just got to look at the stats.
Yeah.
And you've got to look how many people are coming into the country and how many units are being launched. And more importantly, how many are being handed over. And the numbers just, they don't marry up.
Well, we haven't mentioned that, but like the big thing for me, which has changed, it is the introduction of the Golden Visa scheme.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned on previous podcasts, what have you, but that single initiative for me was just massive. That's when things really started changing. Not just like, initially it was 5 million dirhams cash invested, wasn't it? Then they changed it to 2 million dirhams cash invested. Then it was 2 million dirham purchase price, million dirhams in. Now it's buy a property for 2 million dirhams, fully finance it, and you can apply for a Golden Visa.
They just want people here.
Yeah.
And you're looking now, it's getting to a point where people's parents are moving over.
Yeah.
And they're starting to get Golden Visas and things like that. And everything is geared up in this place to get as many people. Obviously, the 2040 plan is to get to 7.5 million people.
7.5 million, yeah.
So listen, we're not far away now. I think the last count was 4.1 last week.
It was like 4.2 or something like that, yeah.
So we're not far away now, but all these initiatives, like we said before about the mortgage initiative, diluting that time frame of liability letters and clearance of mortgages. You've got the Golden Visa. You've got, what did we said before?
First time buyer scheme.
It's just, listen, it's
not slowing down then.
It's not by absolutely no chance. Listen, Dan, thanks very much for your time, mate.
Pleasure, mate.
Thank you, guys.